I'm pissed off.
What is it that has you so angry? Is it the attackers?
It's the attackers, but it's also the attacks. It's like, you know, at first it was a thing of like, listen, if I tell the truth, then that's it, because it's the truth. Mm-hmm. Then it became a thing of like, oh, how can you doubt that? Like, how do you not believe that? It's the truth. And then it became a thing of like, oh, it's not necessarily that you don't believe that this is the truth. You don't even want to see the truth.
Well, 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 what do you know? Police sources, new evidence suggests Jussie Smollett orchestrated attack. I mean, we knew this right off the bat. Everyone ripped this to shreds right away. But this saying now these two people in custody, they are saying that they were paid to help orchestrate the attack. And then later on it says that the records show that they're the ones who bought the rope that was around his neck. So, you know, where's going to be the apology? There's not going to be any apology. There might be a quick little thing real quick and then on to the next thing. Doesn't matter if they got this whole big thing and, you know, calling out white people, all the hate towards white men and right-wing Trump supporters. I mean this is promoting violence against us, and they're just doing it. Why are they so desperate to get their fan base into an irate sense and just go against everyone? They tried it with the MAGA hat kid, that didn't work. Then they tried this, and this is blown to shreds. And then what happens right away? Coincidentally, at the Trump rally, a reporter gets attacked by a guy in a MAGA hat. It's the MAGA hat. The MAGA hat. They're dying to make this symbolic. They want you to be attacked if you're wearing Trump gear. And what did people say right away? Oh, look at this guy had a hat on. It still had the fucking tag on it. I mean, they're not even good at this stuff. I don't know if they're just, they think they're leaving little things so to communicate to themselves maybe and be like, hey, look, this is fake, but just go with it. I don't know if that's the deal or what, or if they're just this terrible, but it's just and that didn't happen right away. Everyone gets tagged, and then what happens? One of their active shooter in Chicago, and then you say, well, that's nothing to be callous about, but it's just another false flag. That's what they do anytime shit hits the fan. Mass shooter event. Now, I'm not saying this is fake. I'm not saying people didn't die. I mean, the people were shot. These are real events, and it's just, that makes it that much more horrible. And that's why it's like, you want to expose this for what they are so we could stop them at the core. These are orchestrated attacks. Look at, this is something that you always want to look for whenever something like this happens. It's the first telltale sign of a false flag attack that not a lot of people know to look for. It's the date and time of these articles. Look at all these articles. They're written a day, hours before the event even happened. What are the odds of that someone would write an article about this before it freaking happened? And people post this all the time. Anytime there's a false flag, they start posting these things. Look at this article was written yesterday. I remember when the Parkland shooting happened, there were just several people just showing like one after the other written days before, but it don't matter. No one looks at that, and before you know it, the media's all gone so far off the deep end with it that everyone's so whipped up in a frenzy you can't talk anything about anything with any of them. And that's why people don't notice inconsistencies, because they're whipped up into a frenzy. They're not looking at this stuff. But we're looking for it because we're awake now. And what did Q just say? False flags imminent in the next 10 days. And sure enough, this happens. But now that we're all have our eyes opened, we're saying, all right, let's look for all these things. And right away, people are saying, oh, look at this. The article is written here. Oh, look at this. The guy still had the tag on his hat. Oh, look at this. Bleach freezes at this temperature. Everyone is just on everything nowadays because we know we're looking for it. And especially, when you have something like this where, someone's telling you false flags about to happen. And this is not the first time, these guys, they have the chatter. They have their comms. They're hearing things. Obviously they're not, they can't get specifics, but they know enough to be like, listen, just everyone be on your guard. They're scrambling to do something, and we know what they do all the time. So this is a safe bet. And sure enough, here we go, right here in the roar. But that's because phase 3 has started. They are panicking. And one of the biggest reasons you can tell they're panicking is they are activating their deep cover shills. It's just what they have. They have controlled opposition is called. They have people who are like, right wing, and they say all these things we love, and we're like, yeah, I love this guy. And then he goes, well, Trump's not really a genius. See, there's a certain someone who I won't call by name, whose initials are BS, go figure, who is awesome. He shreds liberals. He's clearly a smart guy. And then he always tries to push the narrative like, well, Trump's not really a genius. I mean, he kind of bumbled his way into it. And it's just like, dude, if you're saying that, then you're not really a genius. And it's like, you don't believe for 1 second that he actually believes that about Trump, but this is what they do. They're paid to get our trust with 90% of stuff and just push that little 10% narrative. They're just planting the seeds. There's other things out in the world that'll make that seed grow and turn it into something, but it's like but the fact that you have to plant the seed with people who you trust. So you get someone like Coulter, who, for years, you see, she says all the things that we're saying. She's seeing the field for what it is and saying all this stuff. They hate white people. They hate that. They're doing this. They're a scam. And you're like, yeah, absolutely. This lady is completely on point. And then you have something like this where, the only national crisis is that our president is an idiot. It's like, are you absolutely kidding me? Do you think anyone is going to believe you're not a shill if they're saying something like that? I mean, do you really think you're going to get people to be like, man, she's right. And Coulter's always right. So if she's saying it, then there must be something to it. Maybe our president is an idiot. Get out of here, man. We're well beyond that. This guy is so clearly not an emergency this guy's a hero. But it's like, hindsight's 2020. It's just like you don't get airtime like someone like Coulter does unless you're a paid shill. You see these people and they have the primetime slots. They're on, all the shows talking. And you're like, oh, you love them for that reason. And they're saying those things, but they are part of the show. Obviously you need protagonists and antagonists. From their part of the show, for the people who are putting this on, they're the antagonists. We're looking at them like they're protagonists because they're the only ones making sense most of the time. But the fact that these people are outing themselves, or like Jack Posobiec in the summer when he came out, he was going to go against Q. It's like, well, dude, obviously you're just blowing your cover right now to most of us. And he was going to expose him. And then he comes out with this fake thing with doctored friggin' times on him. Like, look, we were talking about this back then. And it's like, oh, the guy is microchip. It's like, oh, really? The Punisher's hacker from the comics, microchip, is the secret hacker. I guess that's why he was using the Punisher logo. It's like, they think we're so stupid. So he outed himself, and Coulter just outed herself in a big way. These people, the fact that they are just calling on them to out themselves just means that they're at the end. Everyone's had a part to play in this show for a long time. But now, right now, the only part there is to play is stop Trump at all cost. Period. Your controlled opposition part, for the most part, is over for a lot of them. Done. You were just anti-Trump, and you'll watch more and more of them are going to out themselves because they have no other move right now. No one's buying the left's bullshit anymore. Everyone knows the media's controlled on all sides. Like when Fox tries to put Marco Rubio on right after the North Korean deal, the flat tire, it just parroting leftist talking points. Everyone knows Rubio's a shill anyway, but it's just Fox puts those little people in. They're all part of the same show, and you're just going to see it more and more now. And I'm not saying everyone on Fox is bad. I enjoy Hannity. Gutfeld's the man. Red Eye is, one of my original just favorite shows of all time, and his new show's good too. I just started watching that. Not The Five, the Greg Gutfeld show. The Five, a few times I tried watching that show. It's like, why is Juan Williams on that show? And it's the perfect example. Juan Williams is on that show to give the leftist talking point. It's just constantly being thrown at you. You can't even watch Fox without leftist talking points being thrown at you. Oh, Juan Williams, he's just the counterpoint. No, dude, no one wants him on that show. You have a show with Greg Gutfeld and Jesse Waters. This could be the funniest, coolest show of all time, and it's wholly unwatchable thanks to Juan Williams. If it was up to me, the perfect lineup for the Five. And, I don't really watch, so I don't know. I just know Gutfeld and Waters, really, the only ones I know on there other than how horrendous Williams is. But so I would keep them. Nothing against the other people. I just don't know if they're cool or not. Whatever. But my perfect 5 would be Jesse Waters and Gutfeld. I would add Anthony Cumia, Trey Parker, and like Dan Bongino or something, and just let them talk politics, and that would be the greatest show of all time. But like I said, now you're gonna start seeing who's real and who's a rat leaving the ship. Phase 3 has clearly begun. Where we go one, we go all.
So I called him up and I said, hey, I'm gonna run to Subway, which was across the street, and I'm gonna get a salad. Do you want anything? I went to the Subway and got the order. During that time, I texted my manager thinking that he was still in Australia because he was on an Australian tour with one of his other clients. And I said, yo, call me when you can. He called me immediately. And while he was on the phone, I heard, as I was crossing the intersection, I heard Empire. I don't answer to Empire. My name ain't Empire. And I didn't answer. I kept walking, and then I heard Empire. So I turned around and I said, did you just say to me? And I see the attacker masked. And he said, this MAGA country punches me right in the face. So I punched his ass back. And then we started tussling. You know, it was very icy. And we ended up tussling by the stairs. Fighting. There was a second person involved who was kicking me in my back. And then it just stopped. And they ran off.